let's embrace the words of Guru Arjun Dev Ji Pacha Ji, and let's contemplate on what they are saying to us. Taran, saran. Taran can be translated in two ways. Taran can either translate to actually getting across and swimming. So taran da arth ban sakda hai tarana. So tarana means to swim across and get to the other side. But taran da arth asl vich nav bhi ho sakda hai. Taran, nav is a Hindi word which Guru Sahib Ji uses for a boat. So when we look at Professor Sahib Singh, he actually translates here taran to a boat. So something that gets us across. So where is it that, what do we need to get across? From where? What do we need to cross? So Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pachi saying taran, saran. And they said the boat for us is what? Is saran, is the sanctuary, is that shelter, that protection, is for us the protection of the saran of swami. Swami means Vaheguru Ji, the master of all this creation. So Pat Ji saying to us, taran, saran, swami, that we need to, if we want to get across this ocean, which ocean? This world. And why is it referred to as an ocean? Because within this world, there's a huge chance of drowning. And one of the things that drowns us is attachment. Is when we get attached to this world, and imagine trying to hold on to that water. All that'll happen is we'll just go lower and lower. We'll fall and we'll drown. So Patji saying that, okay, how do I get into Vaheguru Ji Sharan now? So how do I get into God's sanctuary? What is that sanctuary for me? And this Pangti itself, even though I've used Professor Sahib Singh to translate the word taran here as boat, but the second half of this Pangti, the Raman Sila Parmeshwara, has been translated in many different ways by different scholars and Mahapurkhs. But Sanghaji, a way that I was personally able to connect to this, keeping the language in mind and the context in mind, Raman, Sanghaji, Raman here is referring to meditating and saying that what sanctuary can I create for myself? What protection do I need so that I can actually get on in this life without making a mess of my life, without getting into all sorts of situations, getting entangled, getting into arguments with people and making really silly decisions in life just out of attachment and trying to, be possessive over my family and trying to protect them, and then making some really silly decisions from that and hurting people from that. So we all know that life can be very challenging. So often when we say this world ocean, to be honest, yes, I use these terms and I throw them around, but it's because of the way we see how it's translated, the common translations that we see in English. But to me, that doesn't say a lot for me. It doesn't speak to me a lot. For me, the way I look at that is, when Satguruji Pachi is talking about ocean, a better way for me to actually term that is, to relate to it, is this life, the challenges of this life can be very difficult. So to get through them. And sometimes they're just over little silly petty things that we make something. We sometimes make something into a mountain. So Sadhguruji Pachaji here is saying to us, and what I felt was beautiful, said, how do I get that protection? Is by Raman, is by meditating on Parmeshwara. Again, Parmeshwara means Vaheguruji, but what quality of Vaheguruji has Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pachaji brought forward for us is seal. And that's beautiful, Sangaji. Seal means calmness, to remain cool from inside. And that takes a lot of training, because even if somebody goes out, and so many people get into this whole road rage as well, and when somebody's in that road rage, the furthest thing we're away from is actually calmness. So Sangat but if we can actually embrace this insight into us, and if we look at the science behind the how language actually affects us, because depending on what connotation is around that particular word. So I'm sure you've all heard of that experiment that was carried out on saying different things to the water, and how then they were able to actually do an experiment to see that the water was affected in different ways with different words. And the thing is, if we look behind that, if we look into the depth of that they said that water was affected positively when there was nice words said to it, but it was affected negatively when there was nasty, horrible words said to it. But one thing that will come into mind, especially those that are very skeptic out there, they'll think, well, how does that water know that is an actual negative word and that's a positive word? How? And somebody might argue, well, we're all one and the water knows as well. No, that's not the reason. Sangat, the reason is because of there's a word. So for example, if we take a term saying, say if we look at the 3 words, I hate you, and because of the programming and we've grown up with the word hate being a very negative, heavy word. Even now, just thinking about it, it's quite heavy. So Sangat, so when we say it, it actually comes with that connotation. So from our inside, our whole brain, even though I can try my best from inside, I can say, I'm going to say a negative word, but I'm going to say it with good intentions. I'm going to be, I'm going to actually say it in a way that I know I still love you. But no, because of the way brain works, we won't be able, it's very difficult to, there might be some very few people able to do that. But as soon as if we keep saying that again out aloud, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, we will actually start, there's a good chance, because then that becomes our simrans, our repetition. It's a good chance it'll actually evoke emotions of hatred. There's a good chance that it actually make us think of people that have been quite nasty to us, and not just, without even thinking about it, effortlessly we'll start to form this hatred towards them, even though we know that hatred isn't a positive thing and it's quite negative. So, but if we do the same thing with I love you, for example, because of the way what our mind connects to the word love, automatically it will make us light up from inside. It will make us start thinking of positive things that we can relate to love with, and they might be that loving cuddle with your mother. Whatever it is for you, for somebody might be that relationship with their pet dog, and they feel that, and it reminds them of that affection, all the positive things. So when you're saying it has an effect. So Sangat Ji, here Guru Arjun Dev Ji Paach saying, if you meditate on calmness and you constantly inside of you say that Waheguru Ji is still and Waheguru Ji is forever calm, and the more we meditate and contemplate on the quality calmness itself and go through within our mind contemplating what it means to be calm, and then put us and give ourselves challenges. I know a Gursikh that what he does is he actually says that, when he goes to drop his kids off at school, obviously not now, but when before the lockdown, and he would tell me, he goes, Singha, he goes, when I go to drop the kids off at school, he goes, and there's a lot of traffic, and he goes, there's a chance we could be late as well. He goes, but I'll never cut corners, and I'll never try and, undercut someone, or, do something a bit crazy what could potentially bring, where you're setting out that negative energy into the cosmos, where you're going to upset somebody else, make somebody else angry. But something even deeper than that, why he does it is, he says, to condition himself, to train himself, because coming from a background of experiencing, for example, road rage, and where we just constantly get frustrated, angry, and it was like I was out today, and because I've not been driving much it's been months, that somebody just cut out and pulled out on me, and I nearly went into the back of them. But for a moment, just split second, I was like about to get annoyed and thinking like, oh, that was really dangerous, why did you do that? But I could see that coming, and I just thought, oh, no thank you, and I don't need that, because I overcame that years ago. And so it's being conscious and putting yourself through and disciplining yourself. And when we go out for a drive, for example, say, you know what, this is going to be my challenge today. Why am I going to make this into my challenge and not allow myself to fall into that trap of road rage or this frustration? Is because it's going to help me create this sanctuary for me, this barrier and protection for me. The more I build and I meditate on calmness, I will become calm. And the more calm I become, that will actually become my boat that will get me across this ocean, across all these challenges of life. If we can practice it in one certain situation of our life, and then that Guru Sikh said to me, he said, once then I become more and more trained, he goes, no matter how much I want to go forward and where it could annoy someone, he goes, but I'll condition myself to say, okay, I take responsibility. I've left the house late, and now I'm not going to put that energy out to anyone else. And he said it can be very hard, thinking just chakka this and go, like put your foot down, and he'll say no. He keeps to the limit, controls himself, doesn't undercut anyone's car or anything, and goes with the rules. And he says it's conditioning his mind, that practicing that patience, endurance, and calmness. And Sangaji, once we can build that up in one place, and what will happen is our mind will get stronger and stronger, just like conditioning these muscles. So like it hurts first few times, constantly doing those arm dumbbell curls, and then eventually it pains, and then it breaks the muscle down, we ache, but then it builds it up stronger. And then if we use that same weight again, we won't actually feel the pain anymore. In that same way, we're going to do that, give our brain the same training. And Sangaji, believe it or not, it's not just bound to our brain, because that is then becoming our sanskar, meaning that now that's becoming that karma that actually travels with us. We can then travel with that karma, not only Sangatji, in this life, in the challenges that come to us in this life, in thinking, oh, my child's being annoying, keeps repeating the same thing, but and then that challenge, we take it on, we meditate on calmness, we just think of that Waheguruji being still and remaining still from inside. We might have to raise our voice a little bit. But if our inside and our mind is raised as well in the rage of anger, and then the voice comes out from there, then Sangaji, that's not calmness. Somebody could be still from inside, blood pressure hasn't risen, their blood flow hasn't gone crazy, their heart isn't pumping faster, calm from inside, but can still discipline someone. Might need to raise your voice. Oh, chup kar ja, beta. You don't need to keep repeating that again and again. Sometimes you might have to, but you're still from inside, but you can still actually then, you control and you can use these things, which Maharaji called biras. Sangaji, so this sometimes I think, oh, how do you get into that Waheguruji sanctuary? And then today, Guru Arjun Dev Ji just said, here, take this. So Sangaji, I felt that earth to be absolutely beautiful. Let's all just contemplate this for a moment. Let's all sit on that boat of calmness, and to sit in that boat, I have to create a challenge for myself, and that one challenge, then once I get stronger and stronger in remaining calm in situations, that will then spill into all different aspects of my life. And then I'll be able to when a challenge does come, I'll be a lot more, because I'll be still from inside, I'll be able to deal with that situation so much better than I would have before. So Guru Arjun Dev Ji Paach Ji, taran, sharan, swami, raman here to meditate, seal on that Vaheguru Ji, that is calm. But for us, what it means is, it's not to think of an external Vaheguru Ji that is calm. Whenever it comes to something like this, it's about us becoming that. Until we don't become that, then we're nowhere near that one. So Sangat Ji, just like Guru Ramdas Ji Paach Ji say to us, Guru Ramdas Ji Paach Ji say to us, kende Satgur Sat Sangat Satgur Chatasal hai Jit Har Gun Sikha. So Satguru Ji, Guru Ramdas Ji Paach Singh, they're saying that Sat Sangat Satgur Chatasal hai Jit Har Gun Sikha. So they saying here that the Sat Sangat is the Guru's school, but it's very different to the school. Obviously there's some schools that are now focusing on these things a lot. So I don't want to speak down of any place or any school. But Sangat Ji, Sat Sangat Sadguru Chatasal, Chatasal means a school. Guru Ramdas Ji Paach is saying, when you go into Sat Sangat, the Sangat means, here if you look at Sat, it's got an Sihari on it, means Satya Sangat. So we don't pronounce it like that, but it comes from that word, meaning where we're in, maaf karna, on Sat Sangat hasn't got the Sihari, but Satgur has. So from this is now the Guru of truth. And what do we get when we go into that? The Guru shows us how Sat Sangat, in Sangat, that when we're amongst those, what will happen? Sat, they will show us how to live truthfully. And it's not something we learn. We don't just learn that. This is different to any other place, any other learning. We become that. So Satsangat Sadguru Chatasala Jit Har Gun Sikha. So over here, even though they've used the word studied, and literally Sikha would mean studied, where we learn, but actually this would translate to Jit Har Gun Sikha, where I instill those qualities inside of me. So Guru Arjun Dev Ji Paach is saying, Karan Karan Samrathe Dan Det Prabh Purana. So Karan Karan, that the cause of all causes, the one that is Samrathe, that is all powerful. The all powerful one gives us the Dan, gives us the gift. Sangat Ji, Det means gives, Dan means the gift, Prabh Purana. That Vaheguru Ji, that is Purana, that is perfect and complete. They have given us everything that we need sitting inside of us. But Sangat Ji, it is Vaheguru Ji, then when we start meditating on these qualities like calmness, humility, then they will manifest from inside of us. That will be gifted to us. Calmness will be gifted to us, Sangat Ji. Paach kende niras aas karanang. Kende those that are nirase. Paach is saying those that are niras, meaning that they feel that they've got no hope in life. And things are just too difficult and they're not going to be able to get through. They feel hopeless about everything. Kende niras aas karanang. Kende, but that one that is so powerful, it doesn't matter how much you think that you have no strength to get through this, but Pachi is saying, you know what? That one is so powerful that yes, you can. You can become somebody that is full of hope and you can see that, whoa, you know what, Waheguru Ji is blessing me with this gift of calmness and I can get through this actually. Kende niras aas karanang. But we have to contemplate on these qualities, Sangat Ji. We can't just talk about them. We have to bring them into us. We have to train ourselves for them. Kende niras aas karanang. Kende they will make those that are hopeless, they will give them hope to live and get through life. Sangat Ji, it's very important. There's one thing being negative, there's one thing being positive, but then there's another thing being real with someone. And the truth is, being real with someone is telling them that whatever you are going through at this point in your life, it is not permanent, because nothing is permanent in this life. Just like this body isn't, just like a thought isn't, just like an emotion isn't, that nothing is permanent. So if you are struggling and you feel hopeless at the moment, but the reality is, just like everything, nothing else remains. That moment for you isn't going to remain. And if you beg Waheguru Ji from inside to bless you with that calmness to get through life, Waheguru Ji will do that for us. But we're not meditating on it enough, that quality, Sangat Ji. So kalkinin ras aas karanang, kane sagal arth alya, sagal arth. And Sangat Ji, they're saying that if you feel that you've got nothing in this life, you haven't even got enough wealth, you haven't even got enough of the essentials to live in this life. But even that, sagal arth Sangat Ji, even though here it's translated to riches, but arth can also be translated to the essentials of living, of what we need. And yes, it can be wealth as well. And there's many people that actually always think that life will be a little bit easier if we had a little bit more wealth. Some people think, ਜੇਕਰ ਪੈਸਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਥੋੜੀ ਜੀ ਸਖਾਲੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ. Our life can be a lot more simpler if this was to come into our life. Wealth. Sangat Ji, arth. Alya means house. Just like we say, oh dekho. And often where this word Allah is used is for a bird's nest. And they say, oh dekho chidi ne Allah banaya darakht de vich. They say, oh look, there a bird has made a nest in the tree. And that's what Alya here means, is that Waheguru Ji is the house where arth, where everything you need, wealth, is actually stored. But Sangat Ji, there's a danger here now. Waheguru Ji is, yes, that source that can provide us with everything, with all the essentials that we need in life. But sometimes there's a danger in us getting caught up in thinking that, oh, this is an essential as well. Oh, actually, I need this as well. Oh, actually, I need that as well. Oh, I need a bit more of that. And that's when it becomes more than just arth, and that's when it becomes this greed for wealth. Sangat Ji, I will say the ultimate is that our inner desire becomes that of only wanting the name and connection to Waheguru Ji. But the truth is, if that's not where we are from inside, and we are yet still struggling because we think I could do with a little bit more of this, and if I had this convenience in my life, if I had that particular car, if I had that particular technology, if I had that particular phone, whatever it is, if I had that child even, somebody might think that that's an essential for their life to have a child. But we know actually essential is what we need to survive and live. This body, the essentials to nurture this body. But for somebody it's a bit more than that. But there's a huge danger. If wealth comes on its own, we might not have the capacity to know how to actually take care of it and look after it. We might not know how to handle it if we've got a little bit more than we need. But we know the truth is, we might know how to ask for the right thing. But remember, Waheguru Ji is kat malik dilan ka. That Waheguru Ji is the master of our kat, the kat meaning our heart. So Waheguruji hears the voice of our heart. Even though we're trying so hard to say, I do want Naam, I do want Naam, I do want to get up Amrit Vela, I do want to do this, I do want to jump more Naam, I do want to become more giving. We're saying the right things, but the truth is, if our inside is still actually feeling or desiring that, you know what, I do need arth, need, essential, but that can be different for everyone, what they have interpreted that too. So the inside might be saying, but I do actually need a little bit more, because we're struggling at the moment to even, make sure that we can eat comfortably for the whole week. And I could do with a bit more money that comes in. I could do with a slightly better job than this, with a better kind of position in my place. And you know what, I could do with like, a better car. I need a 7-seater. Whatever it is. See, if the inside is niggling at you, and unconsciously, or shall I say subconsciously, because unconscious could mean that you ain't got a clue that's going on inside of you, but every so often you will know there's a niggling little voice saying, and no matter how much we try, ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਘਟ ਘਟ ਮਾਲਿਕ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਕਾ ਸੱਚਾ ਪਰਵਦਗਾਰ. Now there's a law where Waheguruji works in such a way that what's inside here, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਲਿਕ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਸੁਣਦੀ ਆ. Thing is that Waheguruji's Shakti and nature actually can hear that voice. We might not be able to hear it that clearly. We might just hear it every so often, very quietly, because we're saying, "Nay, Sadhguruji, mainu marja naam bakhsh diyo." And we're thinking, but how comes I'm not getting that naam? Look how many times I've begged to be able to wake up in the morning, but the inside is still saying, "But oh neend badi soni aandi hai swer di na jehdi, bahut hi mithi hai oh ta." But inside is saying that morning sleep is so sweet, and I don't really want to kind of miss out on that, and I'm not really doing anything wrong, am I? And that voice might be, there's a justifying voice inside saying, but you know what, at least I'm more alert this way, that I wake up and I can kind of be more there for the kids. So there's this justifying voice going on inside. So that driving power and that inside desire hasn't become strong enough yet. So what we've got to be careful of is first of all, be real with ourselves. It's okay. Somebody messaged me asking that, Viji, is it wrong? Is egg donation wrong? And first thing I said, dear sister, that I'm not fond of these words, wrong, right. First of all, it's more about, let's be real with ourselves. Somebody will say, is it wrong that I think like this? Look, forget that a minute, wrong or right. Yeah. Let's just acknowledge first where I am. Okay, I have got this inside going on. And if I'm desiring more, any form of wealth or what I deem to be essential, it's not enough requesting that on its own. And one thing I will say is, if at the moment that is our desire, there's something that we can add to it that will be in line with it, which will keep us safe. And so, if we look at this very carefully now, Guru Ramdas Ji Paat says, "Man ichhe phal pavaho, sabe phal pavaho," and then they'll say to us, "Dharam arth काम मोख जन नानक हरस्यो मिले हर भगत तोरा." Guru Ramdas Ji Paat is saying to us, if you look at this Pangti very carefully, Paat Ji kende man ichhe phal pavaho, kende that whatever the desires of my mind is, yes, there's a nature. You will attract it to, you will go towards it somehow or another. That's why, so Sangat Ji, I've covered this many times in the Hukamnama Kathas, not so much in the Salok Sehaskriti Kathas, but so how that whole system works, that I'm sure we'll find the Katha that goes with that and put it in the description. But looking at this, man ichhe phal pavaho, kande sabe phal pavaho, that I'll get my mind desires, but here But even though, what are those? Dharam, arth, kam, mokh. And if you look at the old scriptures, the Sanatan Mat scriptures, if you look at the Veds, and they talk about something called char padarat. We're going to focus on this pankti, but just to allow you to be able to see that our Guru talks about these char padarat, these 4 boons as well. Guru Arjun Dev Ji Pachi say to us in Sri Sukhmani Sahib, this is char padarth je ko mange sad jana ki seva lage. Char padarth, these 4 boons, often that we only actually desire one of them, which is, so it says char, but actually one of them isn't an actually boon. We'll look at that in more depth in a minute. But there's only one that most of us focus on, and that is Sangaji, that is the arth part that is coming up now in this slok. And that arth is a part of this char padarth je ko mange. If anyone is desiring these, then sad jana ki seva lage. They said these can be obtained and in the service of saints, but it's very important that it's all 4 and not just one. So now let's look at the 4. Let's go back to that man ichhe phal pavho sabe phal pavho dharam arth kam mokh jan nanak harsyu mile. So har pagat tora, you becoming you pagat, I get all 4. What are all 4? So we've got here, they're not in order here. In this pankti, it's come up as dharam arth kam mokh. The first one in order is kam. Kam means the kamana, to have the drive, to have the desire. So how can that actually be a boon? Somebody in their life, they might not have any drive in their life. They might not be able to actually, earn a living for their family. They might not have a drive to even get out of bed to do anything with their life. There might be somebody, either it could be that, that there could be mental health issues going on, or somebody could just be just outright lazy. They just hasn't got the drive to do anything. He's just happy to sit there with a remote control and just flicking channels on the TV, and hasn't got that drive to provide for their family and and provide for the essentials. So if we haven't got that drive, first of all, we need that drive. So first boon that some people desire for is the kamana, to have the drive. The second one is then the arth. I want the drive to be able to provide essentials for my family, arth. So I'm not sure, over there obviously arth was translated to riches, but I'm not sure what it's translated to here in English. I can't actually see the screen where the translations are. I maybe need to move it up a little bit or make it smaller, VG. So here arth is the wealth. Okay, fair enough, we need things, yes, and having those desires, just like Bhagat Kabir Ji did, of the different things, of the dal, of the khe, and all these different things, like Bhagat Tanna Ji did. Bhagat Tanna Ji had that inside of them, desire for having a nice wife, having, all these, again, a dal, again, they mentioned lentils, wife, even a horse, and all these different things. So, and for us today, we've got those same things inside just to get us by in life. So that's there, the drive, the wealth, that can all come in. But Sangaji, the wealth, if it comes in on its own, it can destroy our life if we haven't got dharam. If we haven't got the way of living, the way of life from a guru. Sangaji, I've a few weeks back, I shared with my Veer Preacher Singh as well, that I watched these programs on, I think it was on Netflix, but it was crazy. The type of things people are doing with their wealth. Some people, they've got so much wealth that because they don't know what to do with that wealth, they're actually, somebody has created, this business of just donuts for wealthy people. And one of the standard donuts is $100. Yeah, in USA, $100. Why does it cost so much? Because of the ingredients that it's got in there. It's even got like a touch of a really expensive alcohol, alcohol in there. And I think it's some form of whiskey the bottle itself is worth about $300-400, and then there's a little just a little drip of it in there, a drop of it in there. And then what topped it off was they had this $1,000 donut as well they created for somebody. What? Because it had 24 karat gold on it, and it's edible. So somebody will go eat a donut and they're eating this 24 karat gold. संगत जी देखो कित्थे तक दुनिया आ गई आ, because they didn't have the guru, they didn't have the way of living, because the guru said to us कि तुसी घट तो घट at a minimum that you are to give 10% of your earning. And Sangat ji, if these people, instead of eating $1,000 donuts, and there was where they get this particular type of cow's meat from, all the way from Japan. There's one restaurant that gets that from there, and if you wanted to eat that steak, that particular steak, because of the way the cows have been taken care of, and it's so expensive that if somebody wanted a meal of that, it's $700 in a particular restaurant in USA for one person, for one piece of steak on that plate. This is how crazy and mad people have gone. And Sangat ji, there was somebody they had a $1,500 cigar. Pyareo, shadai ho gayi ya duniya. The world has gone mad because they haven't got Dharam. They haven't got the way of life of what to do with this wealth. Sangat ji, if those people had actually distributed that wealth to those that are living in those poverty-struck countries. Sangat ji, I think it was about 3-4 days ago, I was watching a YouTube video of how certain families live in a particular village in Kenya. Where my own mother was born, in Nairobi, but this wasn't in Nairobi, this was out in the outskirts. Sangat ji, it takes them, it's up to about 6 hours of the women's day is taken because of just going and traveling to get water. Sangat ji, and it broke my heart into pieces when I was watching it. I was watching it with my son. Sangat ji, these women, they carry, I can't remember how much it was something silly like about 30 kg of water they carry on their back after walking miles. They walk about 3 to 4 miles one direction first, or it might have been between 2 and 3 miles one direction first, and then when they get to that place where they get the water as well, it's close by and it's muddy water. And the water isn't even clear. The water is actually just full of mud. And that's the water then they were collecting after walking for an hour and a half. And this is the women of the village do this. And then Sangat ji, they collect that. And then that water isn't even safe for them. It's not even clean water. So then they get all sorts of diseases from that water. That some of the children, they're vomiting, and they have all sorts of diseases that come from that water, and then they carry it back. So that journey takes them about 3 to 4 hours, one journey and carrying, and then the shoulders are suffering, and they're living with all these pains in their back and their shoulders and their arms. And it's not like they're able to eat well, so they're like full and they're full of strength. But Sangat ji, let me tell you something that blew my mind away. Pyareo, I tell you, mere pubba maar ke main roya. The part when I burst out crying into tears and I cried like a baby was when they come back with that water in their village, just because now the children and the women and the men of that village now have water to drink and water to wash with, water to wash their clothes with, water to make food with. Sangat ji, they dance and sing in joy. Pyareo, aj vekho, ਆਪਾਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੁੱਟੀਆਂ ਖੋਲਦੇ ਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਬਟਨ ਦਬਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ਾਵਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਫੇਰ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੁਖੀਆਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ। ਪਰ 3-4 ਘੰਟਿਆਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਰ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਿੰਡ 'ਚ ਪਹੁੰਚਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੱਚਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਪਾਣੀ ਆ ਗਿਆ। And that's all it takes for them to be filled with happiness. We, Sangat Ji, have got water coming out of a tap. We have, pyareo Sangat Ji, we have water on, just turn of a button on the shower. And that same woman that goes out and travels and brings this water back, she went to a village where they have water that comes straight from a tap. And they don't have to get it from flowing rivers. And water that has become stagnant because they can't reach the flowing rivers because it's a lot more further. And then she went to a village and she was amazed when she thought, oh wow, this is not hundreds of years ago, this is now happening now. She was amazed, she couldn't believe it. She said, what world is this? Because there was water coming out of a tap, because there was a more developed village somewhere. And Sangatji, when she was asked, what is your desire in this life? What would you like to do? She goes, it'd be fantastic if we can just focus and give our daughters education. Why do the women go out? Because the men are trying to go and earn some food, try and get food from somewhere, or working on some form of farm all day long, working, try and get some food from somewhere. And she said, my only desire in life is that my daughters don't have to make this 8-hour journey because it's twice a day because they run out of water. It's not enough. That's my only desire, that she doesn't have to make this journey so she can go and get some form of education. She goes, but I wasn't able to get education because when I was young, she said, because I had to bring water from the rivers. Sangatji, but then you've got that stupidity going on the other side of the spectrum, where people are smoking $1,000 cigars, where people are wasting money on what they think is essential, but it's actually not. When they want that next best feature in their car, but then pyareo, when somebody has got dharam, ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਮ ਆ ਜਾਵੇ, when ਧਰਮ comes into somebody's life from ਧੰਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ and from Mahapurukhs, then it gives birth to somebody like Zero Hunger. Then it gives birth to organizations like Zero Hunger with Langar, that somebody that even the leaders of this world could not, Sangatji, achieve. When a sex herda is so much filled with compassion, when a Gursikh hears that the most poverty-struck country in this world at one point, I'm not sure if it still is Malawi in Africa, and his heart is pulled because he's got dharam. He knows how to use that money now. Yes, he may have the wealth, but then what's he done with this wealth? He created an organization that wherever there is langar, there cannot be hunger. Sangatji, and then he's gone to Malawi. This organization, I don't want to single anyone out because he'll be very annoyed with me, Sangatji, if he ever hears this. But this organization, Zero Hunger with Langar, has gone and changed the stats of this whole country of Malawi, of being the most malnutritioned children. They were having the most malnutrition children out of the world, having the most deaths amongst children out of being malnutritioned. He's changed that. This organization has changed that. Why? Because he had dharam. That's how important it is. If we end up getting wealth, I know people that went to school with me, that they hit it in the property boom. When the properties were booming, that market, they brought hundreds of properties. They came from being, laborers and workers, from being multi-millionaires driving around in sports cars. But what came with it? They didn't know how to handle that wealth. They didn't know how to handle that lifestyle. Most of them became alcoholics. And now some of them are with AA. Alcohol Anonymous for the rest of their lives. If you haven't got dharam, this can ruin your life. Wealth can. So be very conscious of what you are asking for. If you're going to ask for anything, desire all the 4 boons. Knowing what to desire. Once you've got dharam, you'll know what to desire. Knowing when you've got dharam, you will know exactly how much arth you need. And even if it comes in abundance, you will know exactly what to do with it when you've got dharam, when you've got the guru telling you how to live, when the guru is helping you to restrain yourself from intoxication so you don't end up ruining your life in that way, when your guru is telling you to eat less, to eat consciously, to eat only that what is going to be good for your body, what is going to actually nourish you, what is actually going to nurture you. Dharam. If you've got the wealth of food, Sangaji, today most people, I heard a sadhu saying, which was put beautifully, but there's so much pain behind it. Saying that not today, it's not those. Yes, they are those in the world that are suffering, that have got no food. But he's saying those, but there's even more of those suffering today that have got too much food and the wrong foods. More people today are suffering with health problems, mental health problems, and because of certain foods that we eat can actually increase our anxiety levels. So more people are now ruined with diabetes, high cholesterol, all these bamariyan, because they've got too much and they don't know that they've got too much choice and they're spoiled for taste. But then you've got somebody saying, all I want is this miracle. What is this? To her, that was a fantasy world. It's like, wow, is this real? Water's coming out of this? No. So even in my own pen, I remember growing up just having a nalika there. You know, having that pump. And they were thinking, even if you can just get a nalika gedke, so you pump that and then your water comes. I remember for us it used to be so much fun. And we used to be so happy. You know, just sitting around, living that simple life. Because when I can't remember then, when I was 2 years old, I spent about 3 months in India. But again, when I was about 7 years old, I spent just over a month there. And I remember it very clearly, just remembering just being in awe and amazed with how beautiful it was. That life was so simple, but the family had so much love. And they all sat around on the floor to eat food. And I remember having to brush your teeth. You would have to, nalka gedna penda. I don't know what the right kind of, you know how to kind of word that correctly in English. I always said, even though I'm born and bred here, I'll tell you what, that this soul must have lived in India before. Because I struggle with my English, and Punjabi I can flow better with it. Nalka gedke, so I don't know what the nalka, what you would call it in English, and then you actually pump it. You get the water, and one hand would have a brush in there. My dad, they would use dattan. So dattan is Sangaji, it's like this particular twigs from a tree that you actually brush with that. So it's not, you wouldn't even call it brushing because you don't have brushes on it. So you clean your teeth with it. And it's meant to be much better for you. I remember then on one hand doing the nalka, and then the other hand trying to put your brush underneath it and trying to brush your teeth. And then you fill your balti with that with water to go and have a bath. And if we wanted to heat that water, we'd have to go and get wood, and then put that wood and go and get straw, and then put it over a chulla, a big stove type thing, a big tawa thing, this hot plate, and then you heat it. See how I struggle to get the right English words. And then you heat your water on that. Sangaji, life was more difficult, but it wasn't looked upon as being difficult. Today we struggle to sit down on the same table and share a meal together because dharam isn't there anymore. And then instead everyone's eating on the go, everyone's, even how are we making our children eat with a phone in front of them? And the truth is, it's disgusting. I've given into things like that as well. Bang the TV on and sit down and the kids are eating. And I think that, oh my God, what are we doing? But then you know, I remember sitting in a Veda. A Veda is like a courtyard, so an open, so it's, you would have your rooms at the back of the house and you have your open plan Veda courtyard at the front of the house, and it'd be open to the elements, you'll sit under the stars and you sit in a circle on the floor, just raggo on the floor. Oops, a bit of a street lingo coming out there. Sangaji, I grew up in Hamzuhith. So, you know, you sit in a circle and you all have your prashada there and you eat together. It was just absolutely mind-blowing, beautiful. You know, having that dharam of sitting together with, you know, hard-earned money and work and making that yourself. Sangaji, having bibek, not eating out, you know, and it was dharam. Sangaji, once we've got that dharam, then everything will fit into place. Dharam means then not being attached to it as well. Because if you get attached to what we've got, Sangaji, ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਕਹਾਵਤ ਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਤੂੰ ਰੱਖੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ, ਤੂੰ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਲੈ ਜਾਣਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਉੱਲੀ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣੀ ਆ. And I remember sometimes, you know, that actually having relatives, when you'd have to, that my parents would say this to relatives and saying that, wow, what are you going to do with all that money that you're saving? They said it's going to get ulli on it. Ulli means ulli is when something gets rotten and it goes off and you get all that mold. That's it, mold. You get mold growing on your food. And they're saying you're going to get moldy banknotes. And so if you haven't got dharam, you can become so stingy and just keep growing on and hoarding, not being able to let go of things. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatji taught this. Once when Bhai Mardana Ji went to a town and Bhai Mardana Ji was having a field day. They were like, wow, this is amazing. Whoever saw Bhai Mardana Ji, they'd give him gifts. They Bhai Mardana Ji ke pand ban ke aage. They came back with this whole bundle, a bundle of things on their head, just about carrying it, bore it down for Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Kehte, "Aa dekho, Paatji, we struck it, lottery lag gayi. You know, we've hit the jackpot. Look how much things we've got. Now we don't have to worry about, you know, like traveling around with having so less." Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, yes, great Mardana, but guess what? We're not taking any of that with us on our travels. Mardana's like, what? He's like, yeah. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, this is a weight. The more and more we try and hoard, the more and more we try and hog and not spread it. Sangat Ji, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, that's a weight on your head. You're going to have to leave this world with that weight, with that attachment for these things. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, no Mardana, this isn't our path. They said, "Eno ithe rehn de." We've not left our comforts to get stuck in these things again. They said, we're going to leave all this back behind us. This is, but Guruji, I can just imagine like being really innocent, like a kid saying, can I have that one though, please? Guru Nanak Dev Ji, no, we're not taking any of it. This is genuine load. They said, whoever is actually needs it, they will take it. Kehne Mardana, apna ta kaam hai bol sat kartar. They said, just say sat kartar. Say, oh Vaheguru Ji, sat, you are the truth. And they said, as and what we need, it will come to us as and when we need. So Sangat Ji, Mokh is the last one. Is Mukti, is to be free. Is to be free from not being attached to the wealth that we have got and to be able to distribute it in the correct way. Dharam is the center, the thing that holds it all together. It's the glue. So ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ ਆਓ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਸ ਸ਼ਲੋਕ ਦੇ ਅਰਥ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਵੱਲ ਜਾਈਏ। ਸੋ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਨਿਰਾਸ ਆਸ ਕਰਨ ਸਗਲ ਅਰਥ ਆਲੀਐ ਗੁਣ ਨਿਧਾਨ ਸਿਮਰੰਤ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ that one that is the treasure of all qualities, and this is Simrant, meditating on the qualities of Vaheguru Ji, like we went through in the beginning, of calmness. So I'm just pointing out that one, and obviously there's multiple, and then putting something, challenging ourselves in a situation that it can spill everywhere, and that khajana, that treasure of Vaheguru Ji's gun are sitting inside of us. When we meditate and really deeply contemplate on those qualities, we'll be filled with those qualities, like they are compassion. You know, Sangaji, watching that video can become our meditation on compassion. So if you just type in, like, you know, how do African women get their water? Type that into YouTube. You know, type in how do women in Malawi or in Kenya, how do they get their water? So fortunately, Zero Hunger is changing that. How they get their water. They're getting all the children back into school now. It's happening because they've got Dharam and they've got Mahapurukhs that are leading them, that are showing them the way towards Dharam. So Paat Ji ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗੁਣਨਾਦ ਸਿਮਰੰਤ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਗਲ ਜਾਚੰਤ ਜਾਚਕੈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ become the beggars. Jachike means the beggars, and beg for what? Sagal jachant, that we are all beggars, and we beg that one Vaheguru Ji for the gun, for qualities. So let's all beg and plead Vaheguru Ji for that Shahanshilta, for that inner peace and calmness, so we're more clear in making the decisions in this life, and compassion. So compassion can become the driving power to help these people in the world that are suffering, those that are helping people that are suffering mentally, and those that are helping people that are suffering physically. Sangat Ji, I just want to leave you with that thought that look how much little they've got. Look how little their desire is. For her, she wants to live in that miracle world of where water comes out of a tap. That's it. For her, that is it. That's heaven. That's her heaven. And Sangat Ji, but the contentment of celebrating and joy. Sometimes Sangat Ji, appa roti sadke khanne, sometimes nowadays we eat roti with tidiyan on our matha. We eat our food all, you know, with a screwed up face. Par nahi pyareo, oh nachdiyan ne, they dance when water comes to them. We should be in absolute joy in thanking that Vaheguru Ji when we get to eat and put anything in our mouth. Every time we open that tap and water comes out, we should be dancing in joy from inside. Sangat Ji, I'm one of them that actually loves to have a bit of a dance in the joy of these type of things. Because Sangat Ji, living in that appreciation will get rid of our pains. So आओ इतने के बेनतियां प्रवान एक नहीं पर अनेक ही गलतियां हो गई हैं अनजान बच्चा समझ के बख्श देना आओ बुलाइए फतेह प्यारियो गज वज के रल मिल के वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह वाह वाह